Okay, we are finally live. Hey, everybody. So we started a little late because for some reason I have two screens that I'm working with, but I have Miss Shannon with me. I had to go live and just talk about this amazing conversation today. And if you're listening, you know how I do. I'm Allegra, the marketing medulla. I make sure that we talk about things that really concern women, especially women in business. We want to make sure that we're always addressing and the moms. We just celebrated moms. So, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, whether you took time for yourself or not. That's something that we want to make sure you always do. You work so hard all year round. But I'm going to let Shannon introduce herself and just talk a little bit about what she does. If she's a mom, I want her to talk to y'all about what that looks like in her life. But Shannon, go ahead. You have the mic before we get this conversation going. Tell us about yourself.
Okay, Allegra. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here. Anytime I'm on someone else's platform, I do not take it seriously because I know if when people come to my platform, like that's my baby. That's your baby. However you look at that. So I appreciate you having this space, and then everything that you do with whether it's women into networking or in your business, everything that you do, I appreciate it.
Oh.
So, just a little introduction about me. My name is Shannon Savoy. I am I guess, the owner, the facilitator of Narc Free Living LLC, where I discuss narcissist abuse from a biblical perspective. I wear a lot of hats. Like today, I had on my realtor hat. Otherwise, I would be in a t-shirt with a scarf on. Okay, but we just came, my husband and I, right, just came from doing some marketing and stuff. So yeah, I took off my jacket, and here I'm sitting in front of you. That's the life of a mom, right? So I'm a realtor, just became a realtor a few months ago. So just delving into that. I'm a wife, a mother, a Christian content creator, veteran. I was in the military for 23 years. I mean, it's a lot. I mean, but today I get to help women, primarily women. I coach men and women, but primarily help them come out of abuse, of narcissist abuse, abusive situations, and take them out of those abusive situations mentally, physically, financially, spiritually, into the next chapter of their lives. So I'm kind of like a spiritual midwife. I'm helping through the grace of God, helping propel people into their God-given destinies, out of abuse into their God-given destinies. So that's just a snippet of what I do. So yeah.
And are you a mom?
I am a mom. So I have two children. They are 20 and 21. Amari and Jaden. Yes, I am married as well, but I'm definitely a mother of two. So I get to be their mother. That is a privilege to me. I get to be their mother. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I cheated. I did see that she has kids and she's married. I read up on her. So I do know a little bit about you, Shannon, but I want everybody to understand like it's powerful what you do. And the reason why I was really just like empowered by your brand is because I don't see a lot of people talking about this. Moms, narcissism, family abuse, like things that are really personal and secretive, especially for me, y'all. Because listen, in my culture, we didn't talk about this stuff. Like, I mean, I found out things in my family that I'll be like, what? That was what that was. So, I think you being bold enough to just, talk about this from a standpoint of a mom, do you ever feel like it's a responsibility for you? Or is it something that just came out of nowhere? Like, I just want to talk about this. Like, how did this come about?
Okay, Allegra, growing up, right? You always have that person in the family that's gonna talk about something, even if everybody else don't want to talk about it. It's gonna be me, right? It's you. It's you. Like some of us are just called to be that one, and I am that one to have. I believe in having hard conversations. I believe in effective communication. So same here. Growing up in an African American household, it was the same way. And I can definitely see how in different cultures, you can see that where people want to sweep everything under the rug, and we can no longer afford to do that because it's spilling out into the neighborhoods, it's spilling out into our communities, it's spilling out on the shade room, it's spilling out. So I mean, if it's spilling out, we might as well talk about it. Why are we not going to talk about it? So yeah, we got to talk about it. And that's why we have so many people wrestling with mental health, because people aren't allowed those spaces or don't even afford themselves the space to do that. So I love creating spaces where people can come together, and you're doing the same thing, come together to talk about things that they, otherwise may not have the platforms to talk about. These spaces are important.
Yeah, that's powerful. I mean, honestly, I was just like, she has to be like a room shaker. Like as soon as she walks in, she got to be like, because this it's not easy. That's not an easy position to be in. But I feel you that when you said when you're called to do it, because some of us actually are feeling a certain type of way. But because there's not anyone else around to say you're valid for how you feel, I think that that's where the mental health, comes into place because I was just telling my boyfriend yesterday, honestly, y'all, like I was having moments around my family. Like I told y'all my story. So I was having moments where I was like feeling triggered and feeling things, right? And you have to be aware of yourself. And so when we're talking about mental health awareness and you're like, if you're the one, and I know that's pretty much who you're speaking to, it's like being able to say in a very collective way to people that you're not crazy. Like,
And
go ahead. I can hear
And
you.
that's it. Because I mean, when you're that one, because not everybody is called to do this work. Like, let's be honest. It takes the backing of God. It takes you being very resilient. It takes you being very headstrong to do this type of work, to be the ones to speak out. And not a lot of people want to do that because it takes tremendous courage to be able to be that one to speak against the silence, to speak against, sometimes you speaking against your family and the secrets, and so there's this false sense of loyalty and duty to protect the family secrets. But what do you do when the family secrets are hurting you? What do you do when the trauma, everything is inside of you, is hurting you, and it's killing you softly? Like, so do I had to wrestle with that. Do I speak up, or do I hold all this stuff inside? Because the body keeps the score, whether we talk about it or not. Your mental faculties you're gonna seem like you're crazy. So yeah, you can seem like you're crazy if you don't have the right people around you. You will feel like you're crazy. So you have to find your people. You have to build your tribe, build your community, or find it. And if you're like me and Allegra, like you built your community. I did the same thing because I had nobody when I was going through this. I didn't have a Shannon. I didn't have an Allegra. So I had to become what I didn't have so that other people wouldn't go be alone and feel like they're crazy in this. So absolutely. It's important
Wow,
to find your people.
that's powerful. Hope and Abundance said they battled this too. Um, I think Violet was trying to say it makes sense now. I feel everything you're saying. So what came up for me when you were talking too was like, and I highly resonate with Shannon, y'all. And you know how you hear someone and you see them, you're like, that's my people. Because you know where you align, and that's why it's so important, I feel like, to speak your truth, because otherwise you won't be able to reach those people who are hurting. But then on top of that, though, I'm going to ask you a real, like, it's not too personal, y'all. This is not like one of those type of interviews. I really just want to know from a mother's perspective. Because I'm not a mom. I'll give your kids back in a heartbeat. But Shannon has raised two children, and I want to know, did the mental health, was that a play for you that happened in the beginning of you being a mom, or did you have to like realize how important that was? 'Cause at some point in time, I'm sure you had to address mental health somewhere along the way as a mom.
Allegra. Okay. So I don't know if you know my backstory. So I was in domestic violence and married to a sociopath. And that's the time that like I had my spiritual awakening. Like like mental health, like all of that, spiritual health, like everything, psychological, everything came to a head. And so I could no longer afford to bypass it because it was in my face. And I said one of the hardest things that I had to do was heal in front of my children, because I had to find spaces to go into to scream. I had to go into spaces to cry and to grieve because you don't want to bleed over your children. You don't want to bleed over people. You know what I mean? And so I had to, it's one of the hardest things to do is to heal in front of other people and especially your children because you don't want that to impact them in a negative way. So I definitely had to confront it. And I realized, I keep saying this, I realized that I was a child raising children. Yeah, I look grown. I look real grown, but I'm just becoming who I'm called to be. And I'm not even who I am yet. I'm not even all of who I am yet. But I realized, and I had to tell them that I was a child raising children, and we have an epidemic of people who look like adults but are mentally and emotionally and psychologically stunted, who have arrested development because of the issues that are not being addressed. So, yes, to answer your question, as I was growing up, and I'm talking about recent years, in the latter years since I've become, started healing my inner child and addressing those wounds, did I start becoming and addressing the mental challenges and emotional challenges that I had in childhood. So I was a child raising children, and when it hit me in my face, I had to confront it. It was no more running from it.
Like, okay, this is deep. This is real deep because I can't even imagine. And you said something really important for me, like, because I believe that that's the case when people don't want to heal in front of other people. I do believe that that's the case because there are some people that are just slightly that bold and they'll show up when they are in it and will show you what is going on. But to do that, you have to be very courageous, and it takes a level of vulnerability. Where were you, like, where did you find your kids learn from you in this process? There had to have been good and bad times where I'm sure you probably made mistakes and was like, oh man, I wish I wouldn't have did that. But like, where did your kids thrive from this journey that you had with really acquiring good mental health for yourself? Because it's an ongoing thing, right?
Is. It really is. They're very resilient, right? And not in a bad way, but in a very good way, where they've taken on like the better parts of me and their father and their bonus dad. Like they've taken on the better parts. So they're very resilient. So I think they learned to and then they were military brats, so they moved around a lot growing up. So yeah, I think they learned, through their own journey and through watching, taking on the better parts of me, things what not to do. They learn from my mistakes. I'm not one of those moms who's gonna act like I'm perfect. I grew up with that. You know what I mean? Like I'm gonna tell you, look, listen, I made a mistake, baby. Like this was a mistake because I want you to learn from my mistakes. I'm not trying to sweep anything under the rug. I grew up in the world or the society, the family where children had to figure out what was going on. I don't want my children to have to figure out. I want to tell you so that you don't do those same things. So, the type of parent that I am, like, I tell them, like, listen, this was a mistake. I shouldn't have did this, or we kind of quarterback that thing. Like, this could have been done better. This wasn't done right. This is what you've done. This is what I've done. Everybody got some accountability, and when it's me, when the accountability is on me, I take it and I don't try to bypass it. And I think that's helped them, have more effective communication, help them, heal in their own way, heal from the things that I've inflicted and exposed them to, as a parent. I think all of that comes into play. For me, is life is not about what happens to you; it's about how you handle and how you process and how you frame what happens to you. And so if we can take everything is a learning experience to me. Like literally everything. Like we go to the movies, I'm like, what y'all see that? Y'all see that? Like I'm that mom. Like they know, don't show me nothing, don't tell me nothing. Listen, because it's gonna be a message in there somewhere. So if we would just learn from one another and stop trying to trying to hide stuff. I mean, we would be so much further along in the mental health space. We would be so much further along if people just could, be who they are, and learn from one another. I think. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thoroughly. I mean, I really enjoy just hearing a lot of these things, and it's always going to be the right answer because it's your story. And I think, like, when we talk about even your children, I saw your daughter just graduated. Congratulations to her. I love when I see moms celebrating and just honoring the successes of their children. All over social media. It doesn't matter. But being able to just like thrive out loud and be proud, that means a lot, for a mental health state of mind for your children too. It's like people don't realize that. And I think also, because it's validation, but I also want to say, like, for a mom, you pouring into your kids like that and you being able to lift yourself out of the woes and to be strong, and I'm sure you had a lot of different ways that you got support. Tell us how, because I mean, some people are like, I just feel stuck. Like, I don't know what that looks like to get support. But how did you get support?
I am my own best advocate, right? I believe in being my own best advocate. Like going through like the court systems and stuff with a narcissist. I don't have children by a narcissist, but going through the court system and learning all that, I learned to be my best advocate. I learned that no one was going to advocate for me like I would advocate for me, that I was no longer going to be anybody's victim, that I was going to advocate for myself, that I was going to speak up for myself, that nobody was coming to save me, but God and me. So I better, and I'm not strong because I want to be. I'm strong because I have to be. I'm strong because I don't, it's either sink or swim over here, and I'm not sinking. Like I made up in my mind that I'm not going to quit, that I'm not going to sink. So, I mean, bring it on. Like whatever it is, like bring it on. Cause I know like nothing is going to happen that God can't pull me through. That's just my mental state. You know what I'm saying? So I believe as long as you have like a mindset like that, like like I'm not saying like I want it, but if it's at my doorstep, we gonna handle it. You know what I mean? So I think as long as you have a mindset like that, like what can I mean, what? I mean, what? You know what I mean? And then to answer your question, I hope look. So some tips that I learned is like I always say, like address it. And then if you can have support, find the support that you need. Find the support because it's out here now. It's out here now. It's out here. We live in a different time, but there's a community for everybody. And if it's not there, go build it. Go build it. You go build it and stop waiting because everybody, oh, why didn't the church teach you this? Why didn't they? I'm not waiting on the church. I'm not waiting on, listen, I'm not waiting on anybody else. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to, if it's something that I need to learn, I'm not putting the onus and my healing on anybody else. That's not anybody else's responsibility. Now that I'm an adult, it's my responsibility to seek the resources, and they're out here now. Did I answer your question?
Yes, yes, because that's true. And like your story about it, like I think a lot of times I heard faith in there because if you don't have, and I'm a believer, so everyone has different stories. But one thing I do want to say is that you had a level of resilience that, you just was like, this is a fight. Like you're not gonna take me out. And I don't know if that's because I don't know if you're from I'm from Jersey, so
I hear it. I hit the Jersey.
a little bit in there. So if you give me a little bit over there, I might show a little bit of my Jersey. But overall, like, I lean on my faith more than anything because it's like what pulls you through the tough times when you don't have support. Because as a mom, like, talk about it. Like, where do you really find the support that you need when you need it? Like, have you found that there's like a whole community of support for moms? Or, should moms now, because it's more out there, start thinking about how can I be inclusive and start building communities like that if it's not available?
I think it's both, right? Because right, faith, like I don't know where I would be without God. I mean, I know everybody has their own journey and own perspective on that. But as for me in my house, I mean, listen, where would I be without God? He is the one that pulled me up, out of the depths beyond myself. I couldn't heal myself. I tried. I could not heal myself. So it took God and me being obedient to him. And so, and then the next part, I think we are in a season where it's collaboration, it's kingdom building, it's networking. No man is an island to themselves. This is a saying, this African proverb that I love. If you want to go, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others. We are in a season and in a time and a dispensation where it is going to take collaboration. No, lone rangers are getting sniped out. You want to be a lone ranger? Go ahead, Tonto. Go ahead and be a lone ranger. You're not gonna go very far. We're out of that. Like, I mean, you can only build so far by yourself. I mean, and that's we're made to heal or in community. We're made to heal around other people, and that's part of why people are cuckoo for cocoa puffs too. Because like if you're sitting with yourself, your thoughts can sound logical. But then when you go bounce it off of somebody else who's wise counsel, they can tell you like, wait a minute, like pump your brakes. Like you way out there. You in outer space. But you know what I'm saying? So it takes people who understand you, understand how you're built to reel you back in off the ledge sometimes. So yeah, you need community. You need community. I've seen people who try to heal by themselves and the process takes much, much longer. Even me, I had a therapist, I had a narcissist abuse recovery coach. I had a team. And what I call your A team. I believe in building your team, or it's a combination. So a coach has a coach. I have coaches. I have mentors. Like, who are you that you think you think you Jesus? Like, you can just do everything by yourself? Okay, Jesus Junior, go ahead. But yeah, we don't do anything like. I mean, there are some places that you must walk alone, but ultimately, to go far, you're gonna need your community.
I'm just loving these. Like, I'm sorry, y'all, but you know, I can be petty sometimes. And I have posted, like she said, go ahead, Tonto. She's like, oh yeah, Jesus Jr. Like, I'm cracking up because this is what we do. We do. I've been there. I've been there. And when you talked about having, and I mean, this doesn't have anything to do with just being a mom by itself, but when you're a mom, you have responsibility. And it's no longer just you. So I just can't imagine like that self-sabotaging and going through the motions, and that can't feel good. And I see the comments, they're going off. She's like, we're here because of Jesus, okay? Dark Proverbs 11:14 going in. And I think this is really where you test your faith and belief, because you said it yourself when you were going through it, you couldn't get yourself out of it. Like, and a lot of people don't realize how detrimental and serious that is. And I think when you talked about it, and I don't know what kind of situations were happening, like where your family was, and what the situation was, but when you got out of that thing and you started to really realize, like, oh my God, I was in that dark place, right? And I'm sure you were like, I don't ever want to go back there.
Right. Absolutely not. I was like diagnosed with listen, I put it out on my channel. I was diagnosed when I got out of that situationship, when I was married to a spawn of Satan. All right. Listen, we just keep it real. It's not about him, okay? Because I had to learn that I had some issues too. I had issues. Thank you. I had issues. Like, as much as I realized that he had issues, I had issues because I was with him. You know what I mean? So I had to face myself in what I call the wilderness and spiritual intensive care. Like, God showed me. And when he started to show you, I was like, no, God, but him. He was like, what about you? I was like, oh, wow, I'm jacked up.
Yeah.
And so, like, my mind was jacked up. I was diagnosed with ADHD, OCD, depression, anxiety, PTSD. Like, I know I had CPTSD. Like, I was diagnosed with, like, that's why I'm telling you, I'm a walking miracle. You want miracle? Just pull my name up. It's right there, So I'm a walking miracle, and I don't hide any of it. It is what it is because it made me who I am today. And so I don't run from any of it. Now, do I claim any of that? No, I just make it work now. So, and I forgot your question because I said ADHD.
It wasn't a question. I was just going in on the fact that you were there and you never want to go back there. And I know that's all.
Yeah. Okay, let me address that part. That's where I was going. Thank you. So so I went into like severe depression because partly because I didn't know how to forgive myself. I did not know at that time that how to process my emotions. And so I would stuff it down, and I would feel something, feel sadness. I didn't allow myself to go through those stages of grief. So I would feel something, and then I would just try to numb it. I would just try to push it down. I would try to pretend like it didn't exist. And then God had to show me, even through cognitive behavioral therapy, even through therapy, how to take those thoughts captive. And so instead of numbing it, that's why we have a lot of people with drug addictions and, different addictions, because a lot of times it's from childhood trauma. Trauma is the gateway. You know what I mean? Trauma is that gateway. And so if you don't learn how to process that, then it stays in your body, it stays in your cell. And because it is spiritual, because it is psychological, a spirit has to find expression. And so if you don't know how to process that, it stays in your body. And that's why people get sicknesses and illnesses and disease. But I went through depression because I did not yet know how to process my emotions at that time. And so everything that, that, because I am empathetic, I am prophetic, I would just absorb other people's feelings instead of, not taking on other people's stuff, learning how to sort what is mine and what wasn't. And so that depression period taught me that I needed to deal and confront with things. And this is why I confront things head on today, because I know what it is to be in that place. And I'm not ever going back to that place. So this is why I have to keep my mind sharp. I have to keep my mind stayed on the right things, because I know what it is to go down in that place and not be able to pick yourself up. And like you said, I never want to go back there again.
I love that. But I think I bring it up because those dark moments are for a reason. And you said it, like you made it so clear that it's about the fight now. Like, I'm not going back there. And what's taking you back there? I think you made it very clear about, we're living in a world where we are fighting spiritual battles. As much as we try and say, oh, that's that person that did it, a lot of times, like even with me, I tell people all the time, I'm like, I'm sorry, y'all, you're gonna give me grace, because my pettiness, that's a whole nother thing. I'm working on it. And I think that we all are in a work in progress, no matter where we are. So, something came up for me. I can't remember what it was, because it popped in and it popped right back out while I was talking. But one of the things that I love, though, is that you were able to take steps to consistently keep yourself in that mindset, in that frame, with mentors and teachers and people who you knew would guide you. Okay. What do you say to moms who want to do it all, who don't ask for help? And the reason why I'm saying this, y'all, I'm not judging nobody. Like, please don't. I'm not judging y'all. Like, I'm not a mom. I'm not judging y'all, because I got a lot of work. You got a lot of things you got to deal with every single day. As a matter of fact, I just commend y'all for the things that you have to go through, and still, like Shannon is saying, be resilient. But when you are going through so much and you're not actually getting therapy or having someone coach you, or someone, I said it earlier this week, you can't see the booger on your nose, right? So like, you got to have someone to be like, hey, what's that? Because sometimes we're experiencing things in life, and if we're caring for other people, we're out of ourselves. Like, all we're doing is thinking about everybody else. So when you're conditioned that way, and you even said it, that sometimes we're kids raising kids, so you never even had a chance to be an adult and learn who you are. What do you have to say to those type of moms that are in that type of mindset right now?
Listen, it's a lot of it can be pride based. People have gone to people to help for help, and it was the wrong people. So they feel like, well, I'm not going to get any help. I went to the wrong person. And so now help is just out, because they're tired. I went through that. You're tired of knocking on different doors and it be the wrong people. But sometimes we're going to run into the wrong people before we get to the right people. There are people that have went to therapists and coaches, and they were the wrong therapist and coach for them. But does that mean you go? I mean, just like with church, you may have went to the wrong church. You may have went to the wrong restaurant. But does that stop you from going to restaurants? No. Just because you ran into some bad ones, I'm still gonna go eat. I have that same mindset with if you run into the wrong people, like knock on the doors until you reach the right people, because no man is an island unto themselves. Like, can a car perform its own oil change? No. You have to listen, you got to have a mechanic. No.
I didn't think real quick. Wait a minute.
Right. No, either you go to the manufacturer, or you go to a mechanic, or you go to somebody who specializes in what you do. And we have, the way our world is built up, the way our society is built up, you have doctors who are generalists, you have doctors who are specialized, who specialize in a particular type of medicine, who specialize in a certain field. And so it's the same thing. You have to find people that specialize in whatever your unique situation is, because we're out there. So yeah, you got to find your people, find your community. Moms who try to do it all by themselves get burnt out. That's burnout. And you're talking to somebody who experiences that from time to time. Because then God has to remind me that I need people to help me, and I'm just getting to a place where, even in my business and in my ministry, like I had help, and I had to, it was a season. I'm very much a seasonal person. I know when it's time, the changing of the guard, or when it's time to release someone, you know what I mean? And so now I'm getting to a place where I know the vision is too big, where I cannot carry it, or I cannot shoulder it all by myself. So you have to know, when you are at a place where you need help, and then go get it, go seek it. Well, listen, with this world tries to tell you, we can have it all. I don't know if we can have it all. We might can have it all on Monday, and then by Tuesday, what you thought was all come crashing down. So there may be seasons where you feel like you're on top of the world, and then you went through a certain layer of healing. Well, this is how it works for me. I feel like I go through layers of healing, and today I got it all. Tomorrow, that balance that I was talking about, it went out the window somewhere. So I have to take it when it comes. You know what I mean? Celebrate it when it comes, because there's no guarantee. You say you think you can have it all. You can't have it all the time. You might can have it all for Monday, but by the time Tuesday come around, baby, all them went out the window. It's somewhere rolling down the street. So I don't think we can have it all the time. I don't think we can. And we need help. We
I
need
don't
help.
think so. I mean, you know what? Your point is taken. And honestly, whoever is saying that at this point just is delirious, because we do not live in a world. Like, first of all, there are unlimited wants. We've proven that. Like, as soon as you get to one point and you're like, oh, I hit my goal. And you're like, what's next? You're like, oh, I made that amount of money. And you're like, okay, I need more money. Or, I want this happiness. I want this family. I want this husband. I want this. And you get in and you're like, and it's just, being happy with who you are and the life that you're living and where you are, because this is what you're bringing up for me. Okay. Because I've been through situations where I was very unhappy, and I had to question myself, like, why am I unhappy? Like, I literally have everything that I asked for. So really being able to have the mindset and getting the mental health support that keeps you aware, that keeps you, what they probably say, hashtag woke. We want to say that all the time until it's time to get woke. Like, you be woke all day, but you're right. It's not going to all come to you like you want it to, because we're always healing. So, and I'll end with this, and I want you to take us out with just, these motivational words that you're going to leave people, because y'all follow her on all her channels. I was watching her YouTube. I've seen, you were talking about how you went from, like, the past, the narcissistic, treatment, to, like, I got everything that God said I would and I deserved. And I think that transformational story is such an empowerment tool for people just by itself. And that's an encouragement for every single person to move in a direction that God has for them. Because even though you may have things that you're going through, like I said, Shannon said she went through a lot. I don't even know if you have a book coming out, but I would read it. Okay. What I will say, though, is that before you say these motivational words of encouragement to everyone, and we're going to put your I see your TikTok is sitting there, and then maybe you want to put your YouTube up. I will just, for me, it's all about making sure that you are being honest. Because when I started to be honest with myself, what I was really saying was I lived my life for everyone else, but I never took time to stop and think, what kind of life do I really desire for me? And when I heard you talk about you taking that power back and teaching your kids how to do that, I think that was, for me, what resonated. So what kind of motivational words do you have for us before we get out of here?
Okay, I got a few, right? And thank you for subscribing to my channel. I'll make sure I subscribe to everything. So I'm gonna be supporting everything that you do. I'm just a cheerleader. I like support. I don't have a hater bone in my body. I love to see people win. Listen, because it's enough out here for us all. So thank you. Thank you for that. So I think, like, you have to allow yourself to process trauma. Like I said before, trauma is a gateway, and we have so many people that are unhealed because they have not allowed themselves, because of, what is my family going to say? And I was there. What is my family going to say on Facebook? And God removed them. And so if you're called to do this and you make anybody an idol, or you can't speak because of what they may say, you got to do whatever your purpose is, and you can't allow what other people say. I don't care if it's your mother, you can do that, but it will hold you back. So I say, make it up in your mind. And it doesn't mean that you have to do that in dishonesty. It doesn't mean that you have to do it without integrity, because you always want to do everything with integrity, like Allegra said, and in honesty. But you have to be honest with yourself. Like Cat Williams said, you got to be honest with your star player. So it starts with God, and it starts with me. I have to be honest with myself, and I made up in my mind to live a life that was integral on and off camera. The same way that I am on here is the same. I'm probably a little bit more goofy. I'm a little bit more kooky offline, but I'm the same person, So you want to live a life that you're proud of, when you have integral, and you don't have to become somebody that you're not. So that's big to me. And so I want to leave you with that. And then if you don't have the tools, if we've been saying, if you don't have the tools, it's okay to reach beyond yourself to seek them. I went through sexual abuse and psychological abuse, and growing up. And I didn't have the tools then to process it. And I don't care how much of a boss chick you are. I don't care how many businesses you run. I don't care how many girl conferences you go to. None of that will matter if at the end of the day, when you look yourself in the mirror, that you don't like what you see, and you're not living a life where you're allowing your inner child to be validated and to be heard and to be healed. You deserve that. And then my last point, somebody has to heal it, has to feel it to heal it. Somebody in the bloodline has to feel it to heal it. And I was like, it may as well be me. And I pray that you make that same decision if you're called to do this work. What if my life would have stopped after narcissist abuse? What if my life would have stopped after I grew up in a narcissistic home? And I said, you know what? That's it. I'm just gonna lay down here and die. And I'm gonna let a narcissist or somebody who abused me to write the story of my life. That is giving somebody too much power over you. And I refuse. I live my life a long time powerlessness and voiceless. And I refuse to live another day with giving somebody else the authorization over my biography. So your story is yours. Your life is yours. The pen, God is the author of your book. You get to write that thing out. So what a shame it would be to go through the things that we have been through and then allow your abuser, allow the trauma to win. I think not. So I'll leave you with that. And also a tidbit: don't compare your life. Where I am, listen, this oil costs. You know what I'm saying? So don't compare your life to Allegra's. Oh, she's a CEO. Shannon's a CEO. You don't know what we go through behind closed doors to carry the weight of the calling that we have been called to. You don't know what we go through. But don't compare your journey to anybody else's. Your journey. We live in a society where Instagram, I hate it because we're all posting our highlight reels. I like real conversations. I like raw conversations. I like where people are being vulnerable and honest, and everybody's not, I get it. I get why we do it. You know what I'm saying? But I also think there's beauty in being vulnerable. I think there's beauty in being honest. And I think we should have more of that. So don't compare where we are to where you are. I can't compare myself to where you are. I just, I see the beauty in you as a mother, as not yet a mother, and whatever you are, allow yourself, to be that and enjoy the journey along the way. So I hope is that okay?
That was beautiful. Thank you, Shannon. I love this interview. This was the first of the Moms in Mental Health, y'all. And I promised Shannon I wouldn't take it. Well, I don't know if I promised you, but in my mind, I was like, I'm not going to be dragging them for a whole hour of this because we may do more.
We long-winded over here. Listen, but I understand.
We could talk forever. We want to respect y'all time because bits and pieces, and also too, right? Because Shannon, you have a very loyal following. I can see they love you. They appreciate you. What you're doing is obviously changing lives every single day. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on, because I always feel honored when someone, shares their life with us here in anywhere, in my communities and my business. And I resonated with everything you said. So it was just very, very beautiful. And one last thing I do want to say, y'all, because I do have a community that Shannon is an ambassador in. We didn't even say anything about the win. I just wore the hat just so y'all can be like, what's that?
Right. I need a hat. Where do I get a hat? Girl, hook me up
You
later. I
getting
need a hat.
everything. Y'all getting
Okay.
everything. Don't worry. It's you see, we know that community matters, and so y'all become a part of communities that are going to embrace you with people like Shannon in it, and you can see how powerful it is. And I will be putting this actual audio on our podcast in the community. Shannon didn't know that. So I'm going to be airing it on the podcast, yes, and it's going to be out there before the month is over, because it is Mental Health Awareness Month, y'all. We got to make sure we're spreading love, information, and what you said about being vulnerable and being very real, I think is such a missing element. And if y'all can heed to that, okay, just know that we all have our own struggle. Nothing is pretty like that. So if you just go out and talk and be who you are and show up how you are and be okay with that, then people that resonate with that will find you, and you will build your following as well. So just a little.
That's so good. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I love what you said about the voice. Whoever you are, like just be that, because people will try to tell you what you should be and how you should talk, but the right people will find you once you just be your authentic self. That's beautiful.
That is. Well, y'all follow her on YouTube. Y'all see the link, and I'm gonna be tracking. Okay, I'm gonna see who's supporting and who's not. All right, thank you, Shannon. Love y'all. Have an amazing day. See you on the flip side.